once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2, who is having just tons and tons of computer trouble right now. And I'm joined today by my good friend Rasco Jackson, aka Squatch Gang, aka Squampus, aka Squirlock. There's a couple more in there and I'm just not remembering.
Squatchpocalypse.
Excellent. And we are continuing our series on fan film reviews. Rasco, what are we reviewing today?
I don't know the name of it. I just watched it. The Archer fan film. I don't know what other title.
It doesn't,
I don't know.
It doesn't have another title. It's just called the Archer a fan film.
Okay.
See, you weren't prepared for that. You're normally just used to introducing the ones you pick, but I'd
yeah.
So we're reviewing this, and this is one like I just kind of. While we were getting ready to do these, I just kind of opened up a YouTube tab and started searching fan film and kind of jumping around, and I came across this one, and it's really new. It's only like a couple months old, and so I thought it'd be fun to talk about. So what did you think of this? Not being an Archer fan, just general impressions.
I think that. I think that this was pretty well made because, at least for me, all the actors, while they were obviously not like phenomenal actors, but like this wasn't something that required phenomenal acting. It required very like obviously kind of stilted, like over exaggerated dialogue, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I thought that all the actors worked for the most part, and I think that the dialogue was pretty snappy.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think about this too, is it is entirely an Archer story. There's absolutely nothing in here that makes me think, well, you wouldn't see them do this on the show. Everything about this feels like you could be watching it on an episode of the show, except for maybe some of the more montagey moments. I think those go on for just a little too long. But otherwise, everything about this feels like it's right out of the show, and I can't think of a higher compliment to give it than that.
Yeah, having not seen... I think I've seen maybe like half of an episode of this show, but I've never like sat down and watched an episode of Archer, so I wouldn't really know how to compare it to the show. But yeah, like for sure, it feels... It's really... the jokes are really snappy, the dialogue's snappy, and... I don't know, it just felt really witty the entire time.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about Archer, is just the dialogue and all the callbacks to the jokes. And they do a good job of writing the callbacks. Part of the problem, I guess, is what makes some of the callbacks really, really fun in the show is just how dead on the actors are with delivering some of their like catchphrases and callback lines. So like I'm gonna... I guess I wonder, can you tell, as someone who's not a fan, can you tell when a line was supposed to be like a catchphrase? Or did you feel like some lines were just delivered weirdly?
I'd have to go back, but there were certain things that felt like they had to be like character quirks in the way they spoke, I guess. Mm-hmm. There was a few lines that I can't name specifics, but actually there was one, just like the things where they make fun of the girl who's supposed to be the fat girl. Mm-hmm. There was, at one point she said something that felt like, it sounded as if it was something that she probably says a lot, but then also I knew that was probably like a recurring thing that goes on within the show.
Gotcha.
So things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, and like there are times where it works better. I guess maybe I'm just going to be really hard on Krieger because he's my favorite character from the show, and I feel like the actor that plays him is just okay, but like he just cannot, like he doesn't I feel, at any point really deliver Krieger's catchphrases very well. Because, like, there's that moment where he's explaining to everyone how the virtual reality works, and Cyril says, "What are we gonna do? Fight Nazis?" And Krieger's like, "What?" And then like goes, "But anyway," and that's one of his lines. Is like someone will say something that like kind of calls into the fact exactly how messed up he is, or how strange something that he's gonna do really is, and he'll be like, "What? Like, no, that wouldn't be me at all." And I just don't feel like the actor did a very good job of delivering that line, but the timing of it, the placing of that line, I feel like are just dead on for where Krieger would say that. It is through and through written like an Archer episode, which I do really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
And also, like, Archer is a spy show, but they also branch out and they'll do some like weird sci-fi stuff from time to time. I believe in the season before the current one, or the latest one, they do like that whole shrink down in a submarine and like get injected in someone's body to be surgeons kind of thing. And so like this whole plot of going into a virtual reality really feels like one of those episodes where they do that kind of thing, just without guest stars.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I think that's a smart move for something like this, because the setting is completely arbitrary, and that's a good thing in this case, because it's like if you can't, I don't know what kind of settings you would typically have in an episode of Archer, but it doesn't matter where they go once they're in the the virtual reality, because it's just arbitrary. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so it's just a house and hallways and stuff, so they can shoot it, and like a field, so they can really shoot it wherever they feel like. Typically in Archer, it'll get a little more exotic. You'll have skyscrapers and fancy parties and stuff, but they'll kind of slum it a little bit from time to time, and they'll just do concrete military facilities all over the place, so it could really be anywhere. And so I think the way they did this, it's maybe a little, like, I feel like if they did that in the show, the locations they'd be in would be much more extravagant, because it would just give the animators a chance to have fun. But for the conceit of doing it as a fan film, I do agree. I think it was really, really a brilliant choice on that part. So I'm glad to see that we're both liking this for different reasons and stuff. Let me ask you, though, what would be your biggest complaint about this?
My biggest complaint. I don't know. That's kind of tough, because not knowing the show, it's hard to like compare it to that. So I can't derive any complaints from that perspective. I don't know. It's kind of hard because I don't know really what to criticize.
Well, for me, my biggest issue is the audio. The audio is just, like, the dialogue is horrendously quiet, and then the sound effects and music are really, really loud at times.
Yeah, okay. It does. Okay, actually, you know what? Around the part where they're all in their kind of own little separate areas, when they're like they each have to like conquer something on their own, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
when they're all like divided. When that's kind of like montaging through all of them, like getting out of their scenarios, there is awkward shifts between like the music to being able to hear them speak. And there are times when like you can tell that it's clearly audio that's being bad. It's like bad ADR,
Yeah, and there are a couple moments like that, like when Krieger is explaining how the virtual reality works, and there's the shot of Cyril, Lana, and Archer all sitting there, and you can tell Krieger's kind of like dubbed in after the fact. And then there's a similar thing when it's all four of the agents out in the middle of the field or whatever. You can tell Lana's lines are kind of dubbed in from time to time. But my biggest problem is just the leveling. Like, oh my god, this is so ridiculously quiet. Because, like, how did you watch it? Did you do, like, headphones, computer speakers?
Oh, I was just listening to it on my computer.
Okay. I'm surprised you could hear it. Because what I did is I watched this on my TV through PlayStation 3, and the YouTube app. And let me give you an idea of how loud my TV is. If I have the volume on most normal things at like a 2 or a 3, I can pretty much hear it at least faintly from wherever I am in my apartment building, or in my apartment. I had to turn it up the first time because my air conditioner was running. I had to turn it up into the 90s. This time I only had to go up to about 30 or so. So just that is ridiculously quiet that I had to blast the TV that loud.
Yeah, I will say though that without noticing, I didn't notice. Like, I remember you had said when you picked this that it was going to be really quiet, so I'd have to like turn the speakers up really loud.
Mm-hmm.
While I was watching it, I didn't. I was like, it's not that quiet. And then I went to see what volume level I was on, and I was almost all the way up.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that is true. After the fact, it is pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm. No, I was really impressed with all that. Not impressed. I was really disappointed in all that. But I mean, that's just spend more time on your mixing and stuff. One thing I was really impressed by was how they did the opening credits, because I think they actually, I'm not sure if they like 1-to-1 reanimated the opening credits, or if they just reanimated parts of it by shooting themselves on green screen. Or if they did masking or what, because it looks really, really good the way they fit everything in there. It looks exactly like the opening sequence from the show, so I was really impressed by that. But yeah, besides the audio, I don't have a ton of complaints. The other big issue I had, I guess, is just I think the montages go on a little too long, or maybe it's just that there seems to be almost be 2 montages in a row. Like I felt like that kind of dragged a little bit.
Welcome to the danger zone.
Right? And that's one of Archer's catchphrases too. Danger zone. So like you can get Archer t-shirts that say Danger Zone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like I felt like the montages maybe dragged for a little while, and the actors, they do a really good job physically casting everybody. Like a lot of these actors really do look the part, and I know that they used wigs and stuff to get it that way, but I mean it looks pretty damn good. I was especially impressed that they managed to get Tatya and Lana in a lingerie fight, because that is right out of the show. Like that just for like it's crazy. Almost every other episode of Archer, they find a reason to get Lana like half naked fighting.
Yeah.
And so I was really impressed that they managed to pull that off in the show and just, get the actresses to do it and stuff. Like find actresses that one looked the part, could at least kind of sort of act like the characters, and were willing to do that. That's a really impressive grouping right there.
Yeah, it's also, it's one of those things where being based off of animation, you kind of can deliver lines as if you are a cartoon character. Whereas, like, if this was like trying to be like, this is like very clearly kind of just a live action cartoon. So it works in a way that it wouldn't necessarily if this was like, and you wouldn't ever want to do this, but if this was like some sort of like interpretation of that show in a more serious, grounded light, like that would not work.
That'd be so funny if they tried that. I almost want to see that fan film.
The Archer Nolan verse.
Right? I want to see Nolan verse Archer. Like, when I think about, just to talk about the TV show a little bit real quick, one of the things I love about the TV show, and they don't quite capture here, and I really wasn't expecting them to. They almost get it, though. One of the things I love about the TV show is you could conceptually re-edit and redub the cartoon show and just make it a really badass action cartoon, like spy thriller show. Because some of the action scenes in Archer, if you were just to watch them on mute, are really fucking badass. It's hilarious because it's kind of crude animation and they have just hysterical dialogue the whole time. And so with this, I really wasn't expecting that, and they don't quite do it, but it looks pretty good for some of the action they pull off. Like the lightsaber fight looked pretty alright. The Tatia and Lana fight was pretty cool too. And so I was able to enjoy some of that stuff. Just on the action side. So I think they kind of sort of captured that, and the whole come together like the Ghostbusters and defeat Barry at the end was pretty good too. But overall, I think the best thing about this is still the dialogue, which if you're going to do an Archer fan film, the one thing you have to get right is the dialogue. Because, like, I mean, you know, they didn't even have to get as extravagant as they did here. Honestly, this would have been the thing to do what you're always talking about with just really, really minimalistic people in a room all the time. Because you could write an Archer fan film and have it just be a bunch of people talking in a room. And you could do an Archer play, even. It wouldn't be quite as fun, but it'd be conceivably possible to do. And so if you're going to do anything in an Archer fan film, the one thing you have to get right is the dialogue, and they do nail that here. And that's the thing that I think I'm most impressed by. What else can we talk about with this? I don't know. You bring up something. Take us somewhere, Squatch.
I was just gonna say some of the specific people that I really liked in this was the I guess they kept calling her mother. I really liked that actress because I thought that it was I think the opening scene was just a really strong scene to start on because I think that was a really the angles that they picked for how they shot that was really well thought out, and that whole scene when I watched that kind of sold me on it because it's something like I'd never seen the show, like I said. So just watching that, it was good to see what I consider probably to be the best scene first, so that it was like, okay, this is not some like horribly laughable attempt at an Archer fan film.
Yeah, I was really impressed by, like, the actors aren't great, and it's very rare to have a great actor in a fan film, obviously, but the actors aren't great, but they look the part just enough, and they deliver the lines with just enough, this sounds bad, but I don't mean it to. They deliver the lines with just enough competence that it works, right? It's not a perfect delivery all the time, and like I said, some of the catchphrases don't quite work. Cheryl's you're not my supervisor worked really well. You're not my supervisor! Anyway, that one worked really well. But yeah, Mallory Archer came off really, really well too. She did a great job. And for as young as some of these actors are, like, they're not, teenagers, or at least they don't look like teenagers. But they're not super like old, so it fits. It's just the right age. Like, they look just a little younger than the actors in the show or the characters in the show are supposed to. So I feel like they cast it well, and the costuming.
Yeah, it wasn't like that Green Lantern fan film when the guy playing Superman was like 50.
Oh, we keep going back to Green Lantern Endgame. I feel bad, Green Lantern Endgame. I'm sorry, Green Lantern Endgame. No, yeah, it's not like a huge age difference around the cast. Like, people look about the right age. Mallory's probably the only one that doesn't, but the wig helps enough. Yeah, I'd agree. I don't know if I'd say that the opening scene is the best in the whole thing, though. That's definitely the snappiest, but I'm trying to think what worked better for me. I think it was seeing Cheryl with the dead body. That was just, like, I think Cheryl's the best actor in this, or actress in this. I think she sells everything the best for me. And maybe that's just based on the strength of she delivered her lines, her catchphrase the best, and she just really, really, she committed to a lot of things with, like, the whole her being into, getting choked and stuff. I thought that was sold really, really well. So that worked for me. Soundtrack, is that something to talk about? I like the Danger Zone remix. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find a good cover of Danger Zone to open the episode with. That would make sense. Uh, um, Danger Zone.
Danger Zone.
Like that is part of the fun of Archer is just all the catchphrases because like every character has like 3 catchphrases.
Yeah.
I don't know. I quite enjoy this one. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a lot of fun with it. It I will say it looks like it's going to be a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, no, I think that's why it was so impressive because like it was clearly a thing where like budget is always a consideration, but I think they worked around their limitations well because if it was low budget and had irritatingly like juvenilely put together dialogue, then that would be really hard to watch. But I have no problem watching something where it is clearly made on a shoestring budget, but the people actually have competence in knowing how to utilize that.
Yeah. Um that's right. Like once again we get back to the dialogue. The dialogue just hits so well and works so well with the quality of the show that it just functions perfectly. Um and so it the writing the writing enables it to transcend its kind of general crummy look.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that actually kind of works for me because if you saw an Archer cartoon, you probably wouldn't watch it just based on the animation. And so looking at an Archer fan film, I don't know if I'd want to watch it just if I'd want it to look good just based on the visuals.
Yeah.
Though I guess they're kind of inconsistent with that at times because like all the other things created in the virtual reality, like the Ghostbusters and the like drink that Archer has, it looks kind of crummy and poorly integrated, which is fine. But then at times it gets like better than it actually is, or like it gets you can tell what they're good at and what they're just trying their best to make look okay on screen. Because like the lightsaber looks like the lightsaber fight looks pretty legit beside the props. Like they even integrated the sparks pretty well and stuff. Whereas the like shot glass and stuff doesn't look as good as that. So I don't know. Kind of like an inconsistency, I guess.
Yeah, that is true. It is inconsistent, but I liked how like shittily projected into the world it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like I wouldn't I didn't jump to incompetence when I saw that it felt kind of like a stylistic choice.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And like I say, it's just that part looked slightly. That part looked worse than the other stuff. So I don't know if there was a way to make the better effects look slightly worse, so it just like was more uniform or something. I don't know. Honestly, it's a small thing that I don't really care about. This is just my second time watching through it, and I began to notice stuff like that. Because I actually did watch through this twice, once before I picked it and once after the fact, so. Anything else you wanted to bring up, or you think we're good on this one?
I don't really have anything else to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a ton to talk about with this, but I still really do enjoy it. It's a pretty good one, so if you're an Archer fan, I definitely recommend checking this one out, because it is a lot of fun, and its dialogue hits really, really well. I don't know, I guess I'd maybe recommend headphones, depending on how you're watching it, though, or just have your speakers on blast.
Either or.
Yeah, either or. Okay, what are we talking about next time?
Okay, next time, while I was watching this fan film, I saw
Wait, shit,
it was
I'm sorry. I apologize. We have to do a
Oh, wait.
score first.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I will give this, I think 4 out of 5 is fair. I'll give this 4 out of 5, Kriegerland, shot glasses.
Damn it, you stole my thing.
Yay!
I will give this. I will also give this 4 out of 5 Tron Battle Disc things.
I love how much of a nerd Archer is. They carried that over well. Uh, okay, so now what? Tricked you. Now what are we talking about next time?
Okay, what we're talking about next time is a fan film that I saw while I was watching this. It was one of the one of the suggested videos, and this is the title: Uncanny X-Men dash X-Men dash Start Countdown fan film.
Oh god, this sounds ridiculous.
And I watched like 30 seconds of it, and I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Okay, good hilarious or bad hilarious?
Um, Bad hilarious.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't know.
No, it's funny. We've been getting some feedback from people who have watched these now. Because I told you about the guy that did right. I told you about the guy that did the Spider-Man one. He sent us or he left some comments. He was glad
Yeah.
that we talked about it. We got a comment from Black Smoke Films on the Dragon Ball Z one. And they were really, really pleased with our review. They were really happy to hear all our good things that we said about it. And then Bat in the Sun sent me a personal message. And they were less than pleased. They still seemed really nice. They weren't like mean about it or anything. They just thought that we missed the complexities and subtleties of their film. And I'm like, I don't think we did. But
Oh man, I feel bad.
no, I don't think we missed any complexities in Bat in the Sun's City of Scars, but they're certainly entitled to think that. But no, I'm glad that they watched it. I appreciate that they took the time and stuff. So, if the creator of the Archer fan film or the creator of any of the other fan films watches, please always leave your thoughts. We're glad to hear from you guys. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Squatch Apocalypse.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.